Hey, Dan.
Yes, Jessica?
You want to do a podcast?
Okay. Did you want to do a podcast with me? Because I'm so good with talking?
Darn right.
The Sadie Hawkins Dance in my khaki pants. There's nothing better. The girls ask the guys. It's always a surprise. There's nothing better. Baby, do you like my sweater?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sadie's
There you go. Welcome to Sadie's Hawkins Dance Pod Dance.
Let's try that again. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sadie Hawkins Pod. I hope this isn't your first episode because you're like, oh, this is my favorite Relient K song. I'll tune in for this one.
Hello, and welcome to Sadie's Hawkins Pod.
Indeed.
I wanted to call our listeners Hawks, but maybe we should call them the Sadies.
Wow.
Hey, we're the Sadies. It makes me think you're like the Pink Ladies or something. Oh. Like you're like a greaser gang.
But yeah, like the Jets and the Sharks.
The Jets and the Sharks.
Okay.
Hey, when you're a Sadie all the way. So welcome. This is a special welcome to the end of the year, first of all. Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year.
When is this coming out? Does this fall? Oh, okay, yeah. So this will come out like around 3 days. I mean, whatever. It'll come out a couple days before the end of the year. But yeah, this is it. This is it. This is the final episode of Sadie Hawkins Pod. No, it's not. We still have about a year's worth. We have about like 25 songs left in the old sack, in the Sadie Hawkins sack.
What? Oh, okay.
That's what I call our...
I thought you were throwing it back to Santa or something, perhaps.
That's what I call our song list. I call it the Sadie Hawkins sack. There's going to be lots of brand synergy this week because, yes, we're doing it. We're doing Sadie Hawkins Dance, the biggest Relient K song of all time, classic music video to their number one radio single, Sadie Hawkins Dance. No, we're doing it because there's a bunch of reasons why I was like, we just got to do Sadie Hawkins Dance, and I was like, it kind of makes sense. It's not like a great number. This is episode 171. Like, that's not cool. As you know, you usually want to do big songs on cool numbers, but no, I just thought like we should close out 2022 and ring in the new year with like the big song, and we're doing it now for the same reason why we did Be My Escape and Who I Am Hates Who I've Been when we were halfway through the podcast, because we'd finished half our list, and I thought when we do a song, it kind of opens up, it continues to... One thing I didn't expect when we started doing this podcast was how every song kind of unwraps a little mystery, a little idea about sort of the songwriting process and sort of the ongoing narrative that is Relient K. And when I say the narrative that is Relient K, I mean both Matt Thiessen's life and what he chooses to express through his music, but also like the canon of Relient K music. We kind of get we learn a little bit more about Relient K every week. And I don't know how much we'll learn about Relient K from this song, which is kind of like a light, breezy song that's not necessarily based on a true story. I mean, I don't know what you might have from your research, but it's like, this is a big song, and I don't want to save this for the end of the podcast. I want to find what we find with Sadie Hawkins Dance and do that now while we still have at least half a year's worth of material to do on the podcast. I know like other song-by-song podcasts, and I'm not chiding them, like it works to do like the number one big song or like the pinnacle most famous song for the band at the end of the podcast, but I just didn't think that made sense to save Sadie Hawkins Dance all the way for the end. Now, start a counter. How many times will I say Sadie Hawkins Pod when I mean Sadie Hawkins Dance?
Yeah.
And how many times, as my brain starts to try to adjust, will we say Sadie Hawkins Dance when we mean Sadie Hawkins Pod?
I guess we'll just have to jump in and find out. Yeah, I don't think that... I do actually have song facts this week, which does not happen very often on this podcast. But this feels like completely fictional because I feel like we've heard Thiessen was very popular in high school. So he could probably sit wherever he wanted and ask whomever he pleased to the dance. Or, I mean, get asked by whomever to the dance.
Well,
I also have a little more info on Sadie Hawkins dances in general.
Right, yes. I'm very excited to learn about that. That's the number one reason why I was like...
It's weird.
It's weird?
It's weird.
Okay.
It's weird. I'm just going to throw it out there already.
But that's the number one reason. I'm like, we can't do another year, and we can't do another half year of this podcast without knowing where do Sadie Hawkins dances come from. So we don't have any voicemails.
We couldn't just Google that information at any point in time, but you know.
We don't have any voicemails this week. No top of the show business I can think of. Was there any corrections you wanted to give for Merry Christmas?
No.
Here's to many more.
Oh, no. Were there? Did any come in that I'm unaware of?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm just asking.
Not that I recall.
Okay. Well, then I guess there's no time like the present. Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Sadie Hawkins Dance. It seems so... Isn't auspicious the word? It just seems like so... April... This is the Sadie Hawkins Dance episode. You can't be whining for a treat.
Yeah.
You don't deserve a treat just because we're podcasting.
You have not done your job as an engineer in so long. I can't even remember the last time you put the headphones on.
You're not getting a treat. You're not. Why, April? Why?
So this is the first track on the fan-curated vinyl. Obviously, a huge hit. It's like people, when you say Relient K, and if they know who they are, they either know Be My Escape or Sadie Hawkins Dance. Those are the two gateway songs to the band, it seems.
Right.
I suppose for some it could be Who I Am Hates Who I've Been, but I've never heard that one. It's always like Be My Escape or Sadie Hawkins Dance.
And it's funny, I wonder who has learned about Sadie Hawkins Dance that didn't necessarily become a Relient K fan simply because of their cultural Christian background. You know what I mean? Like, Sadie Hawkins Dance is not a Christian song. It's a secular song in the way you quantify these, like, Christian market things. And it contains no theology. It's not about God. It's just a song. Relient K writes songs. Some of them are about their faith, and some of them are not. This one is not. And I'm just wondering, this song has a lot of like crossover fun appeal. And I know it was like used in Smallville, which we found the scene. It's so tossed off and you can barely hear it if you're not listening. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it when we get to that section of the episode. But I'm just wondering, like, maybe it was on comps or stuff. Like, I don't know of this having radio play. Is it like
just everyone who was in youth group had a youth pastor who happened to play it on a youth group trip at some point? That's what I think the answer is, because that's how I was introduced to Relient K. And
then maybe it's like Christian fans who have friends who aren't culturally pop Christian, like they are allowed to listen to other music and stuff, and it's like, oh, I have a band you like, they're called Relient K, and it's like, well, these songs are like overly religious, but Sadie Hawkins Dance, that song's fun. And it's not even like I'm pointing out that like there's lots of fun Relient K songs that have crossover appeal. It's just funny that this song, which did not have a single, I was joking about it before, but did not have a music video, just kind of became a live staple and became something that is synonymous for the band's identity. It's one of their biggest songs, but it's not like quantifiably big in terms of radio play or single sales. I'm sure in the digital world of like buying individual tracks off of iTunes, maybe this one sort of charts in that sense, but in the classic sense of a single, like this wasn't a single. And yet it's so synonymous with the band. And it's just funny. And I wonder, it feels like a real grassroots way in which it got there. It's like maybe different comps and stuff. But, you know, clearly this song is on their second album, and it's just the most fun, appealing, light, breezy, easy to listen to song.
It's the first track on the fan-curated vinyl, and Dan, you should be wearing your I Voted for Sadie Hawkins Dance shirt in honor of this episode.
Right, I forgot about that.
It was one of the 3 songs that they came up with, which I'm guessing were the top 3 voted for, where you could get your shirt for if you pre-ordered the fan-curated vinyl that said, I voted for Sadie Hawkins Dance, I voted for Mood Rings, or I voted for High of 75.
Right. No, those shirts were pre-designed.
Oh, okay.
Those shirts you had to order ahead of time before the voting had even closed, if you wanted to pre-order the shirts. So just in case anyone doesn't remember what we're talking about, but Relient K had the fan-curated vinyl, kind of a greatest hits thing, and it was only ever pressed to vinyl. When they announced it, they released the voting for vote on the songs that are going to be on this. And yeah, if you did the pre-order and one of the deluxe packages, you had to pick which of those 3 shirts that you got. It's funny that Mood Rings was one of the shirts, because I feel like now, just like 2 years later, that would not be one of the shirts. Like the tide against Mood Rings has definitely changed. Like they didn't even really play it. I know they didn't play it on the Yeah tour. I don't know if they played it maybe one night, but I don't think they played it at all on the Yeah tour. So it's funny that still was one of the shirts. And then not like Be My Escape or Who I Am Hates Who I've Been, which were their biggest radio hits, which were, quantifiably bigger hits. But High of 75 also is like a fan favorite, but like that also didn't have a music video. And that also...
It's a great song.
It is a great song. I'm just saying, like, it's funny how this band has songs that are... That's good, like, when you're a band of kind of like a middle, large fan base, and you can have songs that are considered hits and live staples and, synonymous with your band, but they didn't get there just from being hits. Like, I feel like that keeps you out of one-hit wonder territory, or at least, like, the classical sense of one-hit wonder. I don't know if Relient K can be labeled as a one-hit wonder, because I don't know the mild success for them of Who I Am and Be My Escape, if those count large enough to be considered one-hit wonder or two-hit wonder. I don't think so. I definitely don't think that they would be in that group. But if you're like a one-hit wonder and you have songs that are like somehow bigger than the songs that you had on the radio, like that's a very good thing. That shows you have a devoted fan base. Like Real Big Fish, their biggest song is Beer. But, like, to the wider world, their biggest song is Sellout. But Beer is a way bigger song, and it was not a single. But it's like even people who are only casual Real Big Fish fans think Beer is their biggest song, even though it did not have a single or a music video or any of that. That's the only other, from a band that I can think of, I guess, like MXPX, like... Every song they're synonymous with was a single, even though they have tons of songs that are like crowd pleasers. Responsibility, Punk Rock Show, songs like that actually were singles, and that's their biggest songs. Let's Ride being a more recent one. She's not barking at us for a treat now. She's barking at something outside, which I can take. I can allow that to happen.
I'm wondering, is this the most versions we have of any Relient K song that isn't a demo or a live? Because we have the regular, the gold, and the 10th anniversary, which isn't actually the 10th anniversary. And honestly, the 10th anniversary doesn't exist. Let's just not speak of it.
Well, we'll speak of that in its own section. But yeah, I guess so. Like, yeah.
Did they do a re-record of any other songs around that same time?
I don't think so. If there's a song that's on the demo and it gets re-recorded on the first 2 albums, that's 2 versions. But then you get this third version. So
yeah, it does. It has a gold version, and then this is just like an actual. There's a regular, a gold, and the 10th anniversary. So it's not a demo.
So a song like I'm Lion-O technically has the demo version, the Anatomy version, and then the gold Anatomy version.
Which I would count
3.
the demo as the demo version, though.
Right, I know, but that's 3 versions right there. So with with Sadie Hawkins Dance, you get these 3. So I guess, but you're right. Like in going forward, not going backwards to the demo. Yeah, I think this is the only song that like they ever re-recorded later. I'm pretty sure. Now you got me thinking. I could have researched this beforehand. It's your job to research. I thought this was on the live album, but it's not. And we double checked. Yeah. It was like, this is on the live album, right? Nope. Mood Rings is. Again, if they put the live album out now, I feel like Mood Rings would not be on it. Although, of course, the live album is the 2 live vinyl EPs put together into one streaming live album. So, they already planned Mood Rings to be on this in 2018 or something when those live albums came out on vinyl first.
Maybe this was an encore song that they don't include in the live,
Maybe. I know when we saw the Yeah tour, did they do an encore? They didn't do an encore.
I think they did.
Did they do an encore?
But this was just part of the regular lineup.
They did do an encore, but this was part of the regular lineup right in the middle. It's the only song that we recorded in full at the Boston show. That got a lot of likes. I don't think we put it on our YouTube channel. We should do that.
We gotta throw it up there.
Yeah.
I could never suss out the line. Think I got a tan from the light, which I was baskin'. I could never figure out what that line was. I was like, think I got a date from the language I was blasted? Like, what? I don't know what this line is.
I think I figured that one out. I don't know when I did.
Oh, look at you.
Oh, I figured that one out. I don't know when I did or if I figured it out right away. This is a song that for whatever reason, every lyric that I thought I sussed out, I did suss out correctly. I don't know if I ever sat down and read the lyrics at any point, but yeah. Oh, one that I did have a problem with was, and it's really a simple one, and I figured he was saying it. Found a good spot by the cheerleaders eating. Mm-hmm. I don't know why, when I first would hear that lyric, it didn't work for me. Found a good spot by the cheerleaders eating. It sounds perfectly fine. I'm saying it out loud now. It's no problem. But for some reason, when I first heard that line, something felt off. Didn't feel appropriate. It didn't feel right. Found a good, because there's only so much you can do with rhyming meeting and eating. Quarterbacks asked me if I'd like a beating. You really lock yourself into a box there. So yeah, cheerleaders eating. Cool. It's just for some reason I didn't believe is there another word he's saying there? No, he's saying eating. I don't know. I just didn't like the idea of it works. They're in the lunchroom. I'm just saying for some reason that's the only one I actually looked up. He is saying eating, right? I'm like, yeah. It's just a me thing. It was just a me thing for no good reason.
Yeah, I totally get it. Yeah. There are no misunderstood lyrics from amiright.com. Okay. However, there is a parody coming up a little later.
Oh, boy.
So let's go into a little bit of what a Sadie Hawkins dance is, thanks to Wikipedia. In the United States and Canada, a Sadie Hawkins dance or turnabout is usually
at the turnabout you have
Sadie Hawkins dance works a little bit better, is usually an informal dance sponsored by a high school, middle school, or college to which the women invite the men. This is contrary to the custom of the men typically inviting the women to school dances such as prom in the spring and homecoming in the fall. So the history. The Sadie Hawkins dance is named after the Lil Abner comic strip character Sadie Hawkins.
I have heard
created by cartoonist Al Capp. In the strip, Sadie Hawkins Day fell on a given day in November. Capp never specified an exact date. The unmarried women of Dogpatch got to chase the bachelors and marry up with the ones that they caught. The event was introduced in a daily strip that ran on November 15th, 1937. In 1939, Sadie Hawkins events were held at over 200 colleges, according to Life magazine.
That's so strange. You think that when you hear about a Sadie Hawkins dance, you think it's some old-timey thing that must be the legend, there was a girl named Sadie Hawkins who was always no one ever liked her, and just an old folks tale. But you could imagine it being something like that. Old folk tale about there's a girl named Sadie Hawkins in an old town, and no one ever liked her, and she got up in front of the town and said, "I'm holding my own dance because none of the boys asked me to the dance, and all you girls can come, and you're in charge, or all the girls are..." I'm just making up what the kind of story you expect it to be.
Right.
No, it's from pop culture. It's from a comic strip.
It's from a comic strip.
It's
Yeah, and further in my deep dive, it says that Sadie Hawkins' father is the, mayor or something of Dogpatch, the town from the comic, and that his daughter was so unattractive that he thought he would be saddled with her forever, and therefore held this dance in her honor so that she could pick a man and he would get her out of the house, basically.
That's so crazy. I would like to see those comics. I'll try to find them online. I know, when I've tried to Google our own podcast looking for stuff and I type in Sadie Hawkins pod, if you don't get Relient K stuff, if you get general Sadie Hawkins stuff, I see drawings of Sadie Hawkins, and she's like a cartoonishly ugly-looking teen girl with like big teeth and freckles and hair done in a ponytail in pigtails. But it's just funny that it stems from a piece of pop culture, and that culturally the Sadie Hawkins dance has so vastly outlived the concept of the dance itself, has so vastly outlived the original comic strip. Like, nobody today knows about or cares about, what's it called, Little Abner?
Yeah, here we go. So in Little Abner, Sadie Hawkins was the daughter of Hezekiah Hawkins, one of Dogpatch's earliest settlers and the homeliest gal in all them hills. She grew frantic waiting for suitors until she reached age 35 and was still a spinster, and her father was worried about her living at home for the rest of her life. In desperation, he called together all the unmarried men of Dogpatch and declared it Sadie Hawkins Day. A foot race was decreed, with Sadie pursuing the town's eligible bachelors. If Sadie caught a bachelor, he would be forced to marry her. She was specifically interested in a handsome boy named Adam, who was already in a courtship with Teresa, whose father was the area's largest potato farmer. Unlike Sadie, Teresa had a number of courtship offers. As the event became a tradition in the comic strip, Cap added more story elements. Each year, the Sadie Hawkins storyline begins with a prophecy by Old Man Mose, who gives Lil Abner a cryptic clue about the end of the storyline, which always comes true in a roundabout, surprising way. The storyline sometimes also includes the Sadie Hawkins Dance event, which is held on the previous evening when the young women wear hobnailed boots and stomp on their partner's feet to make the bachelors run slower during the event.
Wow. So, comparatively, this is like if May the 4th Be With You outlived the relevance of Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like, if 80 years from, and this is impossible as far as pop culture goes, but 80 years from now, people are still celebrating May the 4th Be With You, but have no idea what Star Wars is. Like, nobody culturally cares about Star Wars, but there's, like, it's so funny that it stems from this comic. And I wonder if this history is kind of lost, or if there's like a documentary about Little Abner, or a documentary about the history of the Sadie Hawkins dance. It's like, did the creator of Little Abner know he was going to create this cultural zeitgeist that would outlive the... Not that he would
sure not.
He definitely didn't know it would outlive the comic. But did he think that when he created when he wrote Sadie Hawkins Dance in the first comic that had a Sadie Hawkins Dance, was it just a tossed-off funny joke or a little storyline to do? And no idea that it would cause a trend, trend. What's the other word for trend? Fad. That it would cause a fad in popular culture for people to actually hold their own Sadie Hawkins dances. Did he ever think that? And then I'm sure as soon as that happened, he must have been like playing it up. He's like, oh, the whole world loves this Sadie Hawkins dance thing, so we're gonna keep relishing on this Sadie Hawkins dance thing in the comic. Like, that's what I'm wondering now, because especially when I've looked at Sadie Hawkins dance stuff online, like images, like, you see characters from Archie, and you see all kinds of famous like comic book characters, but not Little Abner. Archie comics are still known. If you saw a Sadie Hawkins dance storyline in an Archie comic, you'd be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But you would not necessarily know that it started with a different comic book.
Yeah, I'm doing a little bit of research into Lil Abner right now. The strip's popularity grew from an original 8 papers to eventually more than 900. At its peak, Lil Abner was estimated to have been read daily in the United States by 60 to 70 million people. The U.S. population at the time was only 180 million, with adult readers far outnumbering children. Many communities, high schools, and colleges staged Sadie Hawkins dances patterned after the similar event in the strip.
So the Sadie Hawkins dance, it starts around the late 1930s because of the popularity of this comic, and it stems from this popular pop culture thing, and people just start doing it. When you think of the Sadie Hawkins dance, it brings to mind things like the 1950s, like soda hops and, American Graffiti and like quaint little stuff like that. And that's definitely the twee, sweet, wholesome nature that Relient K is going for when they write their own song about a Sadie Hawkins dance. Like, that's the other reason why this is probably such a hit, because it not being one of their Christian songs, it being a secular song, it still has this wholesomeness without being, I'm sure this depends on your point of view, but it doesn't come off as absolutely syrupy, sweet, fake wholesomeness. You know what I mean? Like, you can try to write a wholesome song about some innocent kids going to a dance together, and 9 times out of 10, I would think an attempt to write a song like that will come off as like way heavy-handed and like clearly you're trying to make a clean song. I don't know. I just feel like if you're like, here's a song about some nice wholesome kids going to a dance. Ugh, okay, no thank you. But the way that this song is written, and I wonder what the impetus for Matt Thiessen to write this song is, to have it end up as such a wholesome song. And that's probably the only part that really, to me, is influenced by like their Christianity. Because, as a band in the Christian market, they're expected to have clean music. But Matt Thiessen doesn't just write about his faith. Like, that's a core theme. But when he's writing about the Thundercats, that's not inspired by his faith. When he's writing about mood rings, he's thinking about how he wants to get with girls and their emotions are in the way and a problem. Like, that's not theologically based. When he's writing, I was going to say Charles in Charge, but no, they mentioned Jesus. They kind of ham-fisted Jesus reference in there almost as a joke. But so I think the only part that maybe is not informed by, but slightly influenced in this song by their Christianity is just the fact that it's clean. You write a song about going to a dance, and it's not about sex, and it's not about making out with the girls or something. It's just like, I want to go to the dance, and I'm looking for someone to take me, or I'm looking for someone to take. That's all there is to it. But then Christians who are like, what's a dance? What's a Sadie Hawkins dance? You don't go to a dance. There's no dances at our homeschool. Your sister's not going to ask you to the Sadie Hawkins dance. And
Hey. Now, if you're part of like a homeschool co-op or collective, sometimes you group up with other small private schools and such to have a prom. That's because I went to a very small private school, and that's what we did. We teamed up with some other like some homeschool like co-ops and groups, some homeschool groups where all the kids wanted a prom, and so I had a junior prom.
Right. If it's like non-denominational and not strictly controlled by very religious parents.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was all like non-denominational.
And I have had those testy tweets where I'm like, just getting rambunctious and tweeting stuff about,
Danny.
People are too strict Christian or...
We all know about your spicy Twitter takes, Danny.
And I had that one where I was like, I'm surprised that Christian parents even allowed you all to listen to Relient K, considering how many songs they have about dating. And
sure
I got a DM. They
Yeah.
didn't. And I got a DM from someone saying, yeah, for sure. My parents took my Relient K CDs,
Wow.
burnt new copies to remove all songs that reference dating. So this must have been one of those songs, along with probably Charles in Charge, because he's having a pizza party with a Baywatch babe, and probably Mood Rings, because it's about wanting to go out with girls, but not knowing how to talk to them because they're too emotional. And there's all kinds of... And college kids, definitely. She's got another boyfriend. That's very, very spicy there. That doesn't seem terribly Christian right there.
Right, cheating. Well, much like Charles in
Infidelity.
Charge, it turns out that this song is inadvertently attached to a bad man, so we'll just move on from history section for now.
What, Sadie Hawkins Dance?
Yes.
Oh, the guy who wrote Little Abner?
Yes.
Oh, no!
Yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe that's a good thing then. Okay, but was the writer of Little Abner one of the first people to be affected by cancel culture? Rightly, did whatever he did. We don't need to hear about it. But it was like, did people just kind of stop reading Little Abner because that happened? Like, did it fall out of the cultural, sphere because of whatever?
I don't know, and I don't believe so.
Okay, well, either way, the Sadie Hawkins Dance has continued to be a part of our
no one any longer knows what its origins are, because we were like, wait, this comes from a comic strip? So.
Exactly.
And I certainly know that Gen Z doesn't know. And do you know how I know that? Because twice in relation to this song in TikTok this week, it was referenced as a 90s song. Inaccurate. Do better, Gen Z. Just because this song came out before you were born does not mean that it is from the 90s.
Relient K is literally not even a 90s band. I mean, they formed...
Unless you want to count the demo.
The demo. It's the same joke that I make about Green Day being an 80s band. Because they formed in like 86 or something, but their first album is like 1990 or 1991. Like, I'm just joking. But people are actually like, oh yeah, Relient K, my favorite 90s band. They're not a 90s band. So I just think it's really sweet that this was a song that Matt Thiessen decided to kind of write just for like a fun little pop punk, pop rock jam about sort of the innocence of high school. Because, I mean... I believe he went to a public high school. That's, every time we talk to that friend on Facebook, Walter, who went to school with Matt Thiessen, I'm pretty sure that it was like a public high school. Maybe it was, I'd have to double check. Maybe it could have had some affiliations in the community and stuff, but...
No, I believe it was. I think it was just Matt Hoops who ended up going to a Catholic school or something.
Right, the same school as another bad man, Marilyn Manson.
Correct.
Right, so Matt Thiessen went to a public high school, from what I believe.
So many Relient K songs attached to bad men, inadvertently.
Oh, you're right. Marilyn Manson, Charles in Charge, and now Sadie Hawkins Dance. Oh no, it's getting to be that Mood Rings is the cleanest. most appropriate song.
Let's look up the inventor of Mood Rings.
Oh no. So it's just like a nice
invented by Thomas Allen Mood. Just kidding.
So we've talked about the history of Sadie Hawkins dances. I just want to talk about what we think of. I was getting at this, but what do you think? What do you think about the idea of Relient K writing a song like this? Like it's cute.
It's fun. I love it.
Yeah, and
it's a great song. It's so catchy. It's fun. It's clean. It's wholesome.
It's just about life in high school.
Yeah.
It's just, and there's a lot of pop punk and pop rock songs about that. Most other bands, there'd be like, if not overtly, at least some subtext about the girl that you like, and she won't sleep with you, or she won't give you the time of day, and she's a monster for that. But that's not a thing in this. This is just a cute little song about going to high school and kind of making your way, being a little prankster, a little jokester, a little Buster Bunny, like a cool 90s dude, like a Sonic the Hedgehog, like a cool dude with attitude. That classic. Well, maybe that's why they think this is a 90s song. The Gen Zers, is because it's got such cool 90s dude attitude. You know what I mean? Like the narrator of the song, essentially Matt Thiessen, but let's just look at it like a fictional character. He's got this like cool 90s dude vibe. He's got like Bill and Ted, but not like dumb like them, and just like kind of coasting through life, just doing the bare minimum. This Bart Simpson thing. There's so many 90s characters you can name.
Yeah,
and they're always like the cool dude, Zach Morris. Mm-hmm. This brings to mind a Zach Morris. Someone who's always in control in a way, but still will have things to rub up against, still gets in a fight with the jock or has to pass the test, but is for the most part, and this is an 80s one, like Ferris Bueller, like so many characters, and maybe that's why this song really took off, because this is almost like an 80s or a 90s high school movie about that kind of cool
it's a little
high
slice
school
of life.
Kid. It's a little slice of life
song.
And you could almost make a movie out of this song. Like this song probably the song paints such a vivid picture for everyone who listens that they can kind of imagine this as like an 80s or a 90s, teen John Hughes style thing. Sure. And that's the thing about a John Hughes movie, is it also kind of strikes that same balance of being sort of wholesome and but also acknowledging the realities of life as a teenager and like not being sanitized the way that like Christian media might. And I think of Relient K in that same sense when they have these secular songs. It's like, yeah, this is what it's like to be a high schooler. And it's like not every moment is turning down drugs and your boyfriend constantly trying to have sex with you or something. Like, that's not like every day of every person's life outside of Christianity. Like, people have regular, everyday... It's like not every moment of life outside of a Christian school is R-rated. So it's like you can have this kind of like jovial bouncing around the school song and it can be PG and that's natural and it's fun and it just paints this lovely John Hughes style picture. It's like sometimes I forget that Breakfast Club is rated R, but it's really just for the language. Like, there's nothing R-rated that happens in it except, like, he doesn't hold back when the language kind of requires to be a little bit more honest.
And they smoke the weed.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, but another bad man. How so many bad men we're bringing up.
Oh, no.
Whenever I think about inappropriate ratings of movies, I think about when I watched Annie Hall. And they do cocaine in that movie. And I was like, this movie's rated PG.
What?
But that's when I learned about the history of the PG-13 rating and how it got invented in the 80s. So sometimes in a pre-80s PG movie, there might be stuff that you would never see in a PG movie now.
You want to go over the lyrics now?
Sure. I mean, we've been doing it a little bit here and there, but let's do the whole... set of lyrics.
So I'm going to go over to Genius because there are a couple of annotations.
I did see these.
One of them is Baby, Do You Like My Sweater? And this is something that's going to come up in song meetings and another lyrics
website. It sounds like whatever it is, you're totally cool with it.
No, it's just no one seems to understand this lyric. People don't understand the Baby, Do You Like My Sweater? He's wearing a sweater to the dance with his khaki pants. That's the answer.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, and there's no other explanation of it than that. But people are reading something else. People don't understand
what the Do You Like My Sweater means.
Oh, wow, okay.
So I really hope anyone who had a question about that before is listening, because I'm pretty sure the answer is just, he's like, do you like the sweater that I'm wearing with my khaki pants? And the two lyrics that are here annotated are in my khaki pants and baby, do you like my sweater?
Here's the lead annotation. This song is a tale of one man's anticipation of the Sadie Hawkins dance and the events that lead up to him being asked to the dance by a girl so stunning. Sadie Hawkins dances are traditional events held at American high schools and colleges, where, in a reversal of traditional Western gender roles, that is true. This is like a good spin on accepted traditional gender roles. This is a gender politics song, if nothing else. The girls ask the guys to be their dates. These were inspired by Al Cap's Little Abner comic strip. So
both highlight lyrics here have the same answer, which is, unlike most high school dances, which generally have a formal dress code, necessitating prom dresses and tuxedo rentals, Sadie Hawkins dances are usually semi-formal. A guy could easily get away with wearing khakis and a sweater.
Right.
Like, and I feel like we've
business
seen...
casual.
Yeah, I feel like we've seen enough, like Sadie Hawkins dances, sock hops, winter formals, which sometimes apparently take the place of a Sadie Hawkins dance. I feel like we've seen enough of those in media to know, like, oh, okay, those seem to be less formal dances, even if you've never attended one.
Right.
So you kind of get the idea, oh, okay, those are, like, less formal. Those are just, like, sort of fun in between sort of school dances.
Right. I don't know if it was on this podcast, but at some point we had to look up what a homecoming was.
Yes, it was on the podcast. We were like, what does this mean?
I always thought it was like the away team. Your football team goes away for an away game, and then they come home. And I was like, well, that doesn't make sense, because it's not like you go far when it's like divisional high school football. And it turns out, no, it's just once a year we bring all the the old guard. We bring back all the
alumni.
The alumni to come back, and that's the homecoming. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
that
there's
makes way more
the
sense.
alumni game, which is the homecoming game, and then there's a dance around it.
Yeah.
Seems kind of strange, but, like, hey, we got all the old folks here, now let's go kick it up. I don't know.
I most of the podcasts I listen to now are movie podcasts. I've been, movie and music podcasts. And whenever it's like someone who's not American talking about Spider-Man, they're always like, what is a homecoming, by the way?
So verse 1, all the girls in the bathroom talking. Who they gonna take to the Sadie Hawkins? My ears are burning, but I kept on walking. Smile on my face and air guitar rocking.
So what's he doing? He's got his ears against the girl's door? Was he trying to listen to someone peeing? This isn't as wholesome a song as I thought. That's disgusting.
Girls talk kind of loud in the bathroom sometimes. He's just walking by. He's like,
yeah,
the
sinks
what do
are
I
by
hear?
the door. I'm just kidding around.
Chorus, the Sadie Hawkins dance in my khaki pants.
Or they're non-gendered bathrooms.
There you go.
Very, very forward-thinking non-gendered bathrooms.
Heck yeah. The Sadie Hawkins dance in my khaki pants. There's nothing better. Oh, oh, oh. The girls ask the guys. It's always a surprise. There's nothing better. Baby, do you like my sweater?
I wonder how much this song has helped to remind people culturally of what a Sadie Hawkins dance is. Because I was familiar with the concept of a Sadie Hawkins dance. I had never been to one.
Right.
I don't think I ever did any. I don't think any of my schools had dances. I went to public school from like kindergarten to 8th grade, and then I went to a couple different private schools throughout the 4 years of high school. We've talked about that before. Go to our Failure Checks Communicate episode to hear why I went to so many different schools. It wasn't my fault.
Oh boy.
Not really. It wasn't really my fault. Anyway, none of those schools had dances. Like, we had one thing that was kind of like a dance.
You also went to Christian schools.
Yeah.
Which is a different... Now, I went to small private schools, but they were not tied to any religious, affiliations. So we didn't have, religious classes or anything like that. It was, we had all sorts of different religions mixed into our schools. And in middle school... We had parties, but we also did have a middle school graduation dance. They all kind of get muddled together in my head because I had a lot of Jewish friends. And so I went to quite a few bar mitzvahs around that time. And so you would have a dance as part of that. So my friends and I would go, and it would be we would have a dance, every few months one year. And so it's hard to connect when exactly all of these things happened and what was school based and what wasn't. But I know we definitely had a graduation dance. And then when I was in high school, we only had that one prom because we found other homeschool affiliate type deals that were willing to participate. I do know that I had a friend who went to First Academy in Orlando. Shout out Orlando. And that was the big mega church school. And they had a quote unquote prom or whatever, but they took them to one of the Disney hotels and didn't let them touch. They didn't let them actually dance. They had to just sit there and hang out and have a dinner. And that's what it was. So
it's just a dinner. Well, oh.
Exactly.
The Christian schools I went to were not heavily conservative. There was a formal at one of the Christian schools I went to, and one of them was a very big Christian school. It was the size of a traditional American high school. Hundreds and hundreds of kids in a very traditional looking kind of school building that I think they bought from one of the towns that didn't need that school building anymore. But there were no dances there because I think it was just more trouble than it was worth. But there were all kinds of different denominations in that school. There wasn't really one set political view on dating or whatever. And lots of the kids, there was lots of dating at that school, lots of boyfriend and girlfriend matchups, but there weren't any dances at that school. So I just happen to have never experienced any sort of traditional school dance of any kind, really, other than a dinner formal like you were talking about at one of those. But right,
but it still had a religious affiliation,
right?
So that could be the difference. Verse 2, sitting in the back of my next class napping, gotta give a speech, then bowed to the clapping. Told a funny joke, got the whole class laughing, think I got a tan from the light which I was basking. I think also that makes no sense, that line. Like, right. Oh, I got a tan from
gymnastics.
The light, which I was basking in, of the glory of this great speech I just gave.
It's almost like he's just cutting through the tree hole. He's like, just got to get out of this verse. Yeah. Like, he had a really strong... Well, I feel like it ends up being a strong verse overall. But, yeah, if you dissect that last line, like, that is the most gymnastic lyric in that section of the song. So clearly I feel like my interpretation
of think I got a date from the language I was blasted makes about as much sense. So
well, because he does get the girl to ask him out because he's good with talking.
Yeah.
That's funny. You know, narratively, it's not like this is a movie. It's not like this is actually a movie. I wonder if canonically in Matt Thiessen's head, the girl saw him at his speech class and was like, ooh, he's good with talkin', go with me to the Sadie Hawkins. Or is the interpretation of the song just more overall his character, the way he's presented himself in school throughout the year? She's been noticing him and noticing that he's funny and is good with talkin' and all that.
Chorus. The Sadie Hawkins dance in my khaki pants. There's nothing better. Oh, oh, oh. Girls ask the guys. It's always a surprise. There's nothing better. Baby, do you like my sweater? Bridge. Scan the cafeteria for some good seating. I found a good spot by the cheerleaders eating. The quarterback asked me if I'd like a beating. I said that's one thing I won't be needing. And since I'm rather smart and cunning, I took off down the next hall running. Only to get stopped by a girl so stunning. Only to get stopped by a girl so stunning. She said you're smooth and good with talkin'. You go with me to the Sadie Hawkins. Bum, bum, bum. Sadie Hawkins dancing in my khaki pants. There's nothing better. Oh, oh, oh. And you know the outro.
Exactly. So the story of the song pretty much ends at he gets asked out.
Yeah.
That's the narrative thrust of the song. He's like, is someone gonna ask me out? He's kind of cool, but he's not the coolest guy. He's like the Zach. Well, that's not like Zach Morris, because Zach Morris is like, I'm the coolest MFer in this school.
But not everybody sees him that way.
Right. So it's like to kind of be in that like middle ground where you're the cool class clown. I guess that's it. Because there's some class clowns that are nerds and there's some class like clowns that are cool. Yes. Well, yes. Exactly. You know, the class clown isn't really an archetype. Exactly. It's a role that different archetypes can take on. It's an archetype DLC. When you say if we go back to the Relient K quote-unquote book, or the quote-unquote Relient K book, Complex Infrastructure, known as... I'm pointing over here at the bookshelf. It's not on that bookshelf. The Complex Infrastructure, known as the Female Mind book, that's supposedly by Relient K, and it's not really. That book is just like every chapter is about a different archetype of a girl that you'll see at school. And then there's two archetypes for boys, the scummy guy and the Prince Charming. Forget that book. Forget how nonsensical that book is. When you really think of like the archetypes in school, you know, whatever, the cheerleader, the jock, they're in this song, the nice girl, the mean girl, all these things. The class clown is not an archetype, because different people in different areas, you'll say the class clown, and they're all going to picture a different kind of guy. You might picture sort of a cool, aloof guy, a 90s guy, who kind of acts like he's got it all figured out, but sometimes gets in a jam. Other class clowns might be like a nerdy guy who nobody really likes, and he's just kind of like a Revenge of the Nerds type class clown. Talk about another problematic movie. So many problematic things coming up today. But anyway, I don't know what I was even getting at. Oh, the narrative thrust of this song, it ends with he gets the date, and that's sweet. And that's like really just the concern of the song. And it's just a song. You can't expect there to be an absolute first, second, and third act. Once he's got the date, that's all you need to know. The story is complete. And it's nice. And he's saying, maybe it confused people because they're expecting like a beginning, middle, and end of the story. And if he keeps asking, do you like my sweater throughout the whole song, they're like, well, why would he be asking, do you like my sweater before he even has the date? Like, well, that's not how poetry and songs work. Maybe that partially confused people. Anyway, well, we still have tons to talk about with this song, and we'll go on our break. But when we get back, we got to talk about the 10th anniversary version. We gotta talk about other things.
The deep dives,
The deep dive.
etc.
I feel like we promised a lot of things to talk about through, we'll get to that. Oh, we'll get to that. And now I've forgotten everything we're going to get to except for the 10th anniversary version. Oh, the difference between the gold version and the regular version. We'll get to all of those after the break.
Thank you so much for listening to Sadie Hawkins Pod. If you want to join the conversation, please contact us with thoughts on this episode, your corrections, and your Relient K memories at our voicemail line 402-95-SADIE, or send an email to sadiehawkinspod@gmail.com.
You can also visit our socials. Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok are all at Sadie Hawkins Pod, where you can see the visuals we discuss on the podcast each week.
You can also visit sadiehawkinspod.com for easy access to all these links, as well as our merch store for shirts, mugs, and stickers. And on Facebook, search for Sadie Hawkins Group to discuss our show and Relient K. It's admin by Danny, so honestly, you can probably post almost anything there.
We also want to thank our patrons at patreon.com/SadieHawkinsPod, who include Samantha, Matthew, Bjorn, Emily, Isaac, Kindle, Joshua, Daniel, Jay, Joel, Connor, Michael, Samantha, Jimmy Eat Pod, This Might Be a Podcast, Tucker, and Brady.
Join our Patreon now for 2 monthly bonus episodes. Unlock dozens of existing bonus eps, including K is for Karaoke songs, every chapter of the complex infrastructure known as the Female Mind Book, stickers, guitar picks, and a special Patreon exclusive shirt when you have donated a lifetime contribution of $60.
Whether you join the Patreon or not, we appreciate that you have a lot of choices for podcasts out there in the world, so it's nice that you chose us.
Thanks.
So, when it comes to the gold version and the non-gold version, as a reminder, maybe some people are only listening to this episode and judging us based off of this episode. So if you didn't know, for Anatomy of the Tongue-in-Cheek and...
Judge lest ye be judged.
On Anatomy of the Tongue-in-Cheek and Two Lefts Don't Make a Right But Three Do, both of those albums were remixed in 2005 and redistributed with those new mixes. And for the most part, those mixes were completely unnecessary. I mean, just listen to any random Anatomy or Two Lefts episode that we've done, and we'll kind of discuss where it does or doesn't make a big difference that there's a gold version, changed up mix, and the gold mix, the 2005 mix of those two albums, are what exist on streaming today. So to this day, most people have heard the second mix. To me, the original 2001 mix of this album is perfect. Like,
Yeah.
the gold mix, even though it is sort of the canonical mix that everyone has heard to this day, the original 2001 mix on the original CD is way superior to what you hear on streaming now. It's not the worst case when you A-B them. Like, it's not even immediately noticeable what the differences are. So as far as like some other songs, I can't remember any other songs where it's like really detrimental. Like, undeniably the original mix is better of some songs. In this case, it's like if someone's hearing the gold mix, listening to that on streaming, whatever, it's fine. It's still servicing the song. Basically, all I could tell in my limited capacity of understanding music is to say that the mix that exists on streaming, the gold mix, is just, it's all kind of like washed over. It's a little muddier. One thing for sure is that, you know, everything's just kind of leveled out to a point where the drums are a little less powerful. Like, there's a very driving... The drums are up enough in the mix that it kind of gives you that fun forward momentum, but, like, those drums are pretty lost in the muddier mix of the gold version. One thing that's really weird is the sort of breakdown, slow, pretty part towards the end, that bridge section. I wrote it down because I'm not going to remember which is which. But, hold on one second. On the original mix, the song kind of breaks down all of a sudden, and it's the slow, pretty part in the middle. that like twinkly guitar is mostly panned to the left on the original mix, and then you hear a second twiddly guitar come in on the right side for just a couple of notes before he starts singing again. That's completely flipped on the gold version for some reason. Like, I don't understand why they were like, oh, we got it all wrong. We shouldn't have panned it to the left. We should have panned it to the right. Okay, like, some of the changes in the gold mix are so strange and, like, unnecessary that I just don't understand why. Except maybe the fact that they have, like, this is what I think sometimes. When I find differences like that, like, sometimes something's panned to the left when it was panned to the right, because that's not the first time I saw that. There's other songs where the stereo things are flipped for some reason. The only reason I can think that is, like, maybe they were like, we're not very forward and open about the fact that the gold mixes even exist. Like, the artwork for most of the represses of the CDs don't even necessarily say this is a 2005 rebrand of the CD and this will have a different mix on it. Like, you actually have to look at the copyright to even tell that it's a different version than the first CD. Like, they wanted these mixes to really replace the original mixes, so much so that, with a few exceptions, like some of the reprinted CDs with the second mix have the slip covers, but not all of them. So maybe because they were so kind of like coy about the fact that they remixed the albums, like they didn't like make it obvious and didn't even like, you won't even necessarily know that it's the gold mixes on streaming today. Maybe they did some of these different panning effects just so that they could tell easily which of these is which. So when they're like pressing CDs or something, it's like, we didn't accidentally, or pressing a vinyl, like, oh, we didn't accidentally get the old masters because on Sadie Hawkins Dance, the twinkly guitars in the middle of the song are supposed to be on the right. That's the only reason I can think that they changed that. But yeah, I would say, I mean, it gets so confusing online if you want to hear the original mixes of these CDs. Like, the only place you can really go is YouTube or buy your own CDs, because even when you go on YouTube, you don't necessarily know if you're hearing a gold mix or an original mix, because half the times the fans uploading them to YouTube don't know what they have. So it's difficult to figure that out. Maybe we need to make like a canonical, like I'm using the word canonical too much tonight. Maybe we need to make a very clear, I'm sure people have put this on YouTube, but we need to make a very clear upload of, here's this album in gold, here's the same album not in gold, so you very clearly know which one. The only way you know for sure half the time is what year the upload is. Like, if you go to a YouTube upload by a fan of a song and it exists before 2005, well, then you know you're hearing the original mix of that song.
Did YouTube even exist before 2005?
Good point.
I mean, I only became aware of it in 2005.
I
so
think
I'm like,
I think it might have started in 2005, so I guess that doesn't work. Right, because we're getting ahead a little bit, but when it comes to live versions of this song on YouTube, you start to see it. Here it is. So YouTube definitely existed before 2008. But you see the culture of filming a concert and uploading songs in full from that concert to YouTube begin in 2008 with Relient K. I'm sure there's outliers and people who uploaded songs earlier, but I typed in Sadie Hawkins Dance, Relient K, and I sorted it by date, and I went all the way to the bottom of the list. And there are dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of the very first uploads to YouTube ever, tagged as Relient K Sadie Hawkins Dance, are the performances at the 2008 Warped Tour. Because 2008 just must have been the year that everyone at Warped Tour had a pretty good video phone and were filming them and then taking them home and uploading them to YouTube, because you probably couldn't even easily upload directly from your phone to YouTube back then.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. Like, that's probably when... I don't remember if that's when iPhones finally got video capabilities or what, but yeah, maybe folks on flip cams or something going home and uploading them.
Then we can talk, now that we talked about the difference between the negligible differences between the gold mix and the original mix, we gotta talk about this. We gotta talk about... I gotta ask you, after this Lady Gaga Dom Perignon commercial. I gotta ask, baby, do you like this version better? Well, that's a Booking.com jingle. What do you think of this? This is the 10th anniversary, the 10-year reunion version of Sadie Hawkins Dance from the Goatee Records 20th anniversary comp. I guess now for Patreon in January we'll have to do the 20th anniversary Goatee Records comp. What do you think of this?
Ugh.
It feels very unnecessary, but we know, Jessica, do you remember this? We were given special information about this version of the song. Do you remember what that is?
Oh my gosh, I only vaguely recall that we were given the information. I don't remember specifically what it was.
It was on this podcast.
I know.
Like 2 or 3 years ago. John Schneck, when we had him on the podcast to talk about Be Your Man, we talked about all kinds of stuff, and he mentioned how he was like, isn't our redo of Sadie Hawkins Dance on K is for Karaoke? And we were like, no. And he's like, oh, okay, I get confused because they recorded this song, this redo, their own cover of Sadie Hawkins Dance in the K for Karaoke sessions.
Right.
So John Schneck told us that the idea was Relient K covering Relient K. So I guess at some point the idea was this version of Sadie Hawkins Dance would be on K is for Karaoke. But then it ended up on this Goatee Records
that would have been
anniversary
funny.
comp.
That would have been, clever.
Right. It feels totally unnecessary. It doesn't...
The vocals, I'm sorry, just...
His vocals have evolved. His vocals had evolved so much over time, especially after after Collapsible Lung, and all the different vocal takes that he does on Collapsible Lung, and then this is right before that. And then, like the vocals, and I think that mature version of Thiessen's vocals are to the service of Relient K with Air for Free. Like the way that Thiessen sings now, those songs on Air for Free are kind of written with that. I think it's a happy
medium between that Collapsible Lung sound and earlier Relient K. I think that he sort of toned down that very airy, affected vocal styling, which is just on Front Street here.
Right. My number one problem with this version of the song... I love the bass. I love that heavy
I like the heavier bass.
And that's John Warren, because that still would have been John Warren at the time.
I'm not a huge fan of the mix in general, though. I do like the more prominent bass.
Can we get a non-gold version of the 10th anniversary version of Sadie Hawkins Dance? And that's another thing. It's like the drums and the bass, I'm going back to the gold and non-gold version, but the drums and the bass in the original mix sound way better, and then they just get buried in the gold mix. Here, at least, they're like bringing that bass up. That's fun. The main problem with this version that I have is that there is an organ note that sustains through the whole song. I don't know how easy it's going to be able to hear. We're going to be able to hear that in the room right now. There you go. You can hear it right there.
I hate that.
You can hear it when he goes,
I was talking about the vocals.
Okay. You can hear it when he pauses, when the band pauses for him to go, Ready? Listen. You heard that?
Yeah, that ringing.
It's a ringing organ sustain that goes through the whole song. And it's so unsettling. It's like like a David Lynch movie. It's like something that's just slightly askew, something slightly wrong. I think that's the biggest mistake with this version of the song, honestly. Like I think you have to literally remove that. It unsettles me the whole time. I get the idea that maybe it was just kind of a nice little thing to carry the song. I don't think it works. I think it's, and I don't come out criticizing Relient K this heavily, especially not for production and music choices, because I don't have that vocabulary or that tool set to really criticize those things. But in this case, I can listen to this version of the song and I can pinpoint exactly what's making me uneasy. And it's that haunting, not in a good way, like terrifying organ note through the whole thing. But it's
so funny.
What I do like is two things, and they're both kind of similar, both around the same time, is the way they change up the sort of breakdown. It's before this. Yeah, we were right here before, but it's right before this. That's fun. I like that. I like that it's just a little change up instead of like cutting those notes. It's just a little fun, different thing on what you expect. And then the twinkly, pretty part that we just heard right before he starts singing again, they do that in a nice, modern sounding way. I like that. I like the bass is up heavier. But then my favorite part, despite the fact that we're not crazy about his vocals on this version, it's this. I tried to time that perfectly. It didn't work. My favorite part is this.
So stunning. She said you're smooth and good with talking.
I really like how falsetto he says the girl's line in the song. She said you're smooth, because he's never sounded that falsetto. Jessica doesn't like it. You don't like it.
I don't care for it.
You don't care for it. I really like it.
This isn't Wheatus. I'm not here for it.
Well, it is just like Wheatus, yeah. This is a more wholesome version of Teenage Dirtbag, but I don't think that this song is really I don't feel like this song's inspired by Teenage Dirtbag. I feel like it could probably just hold a similar spot, similar narrative place. But he sings so high that for that moment, the first time I heard this song, I actually got chills because I thought they got a female guest vocal to just do the lines in the song sung by a girl. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I thought that would have been so cute if they did that. Like, get a female singer to just do the girl's line. But no, it's actually Thiessen singing like a girl in that, singing like, a female vocalist. It's not
She Has a Girlfriend now. They don't get a female vocalist to come in.
But they should have. That would have been great. But hearing Thiessen sing so high and feminine is really funny and cool in that moment. It's just very different. And then I've talked about, like, you don't get like the other times where Thiessen has sung in a falsetto, or like PTL and stuff like that, and a few of the Christmas songs, and definitely a few of the live Christmas songs that have never been recorded. But like it's so playful in this version. I really do enjoy that. Do I like the whole song? No, it makes me uneasy. It makes me think something's out to get me. What's that around the corner? Something's wrong. What's that humming sound?
There's a face in the tree.
There's a face in the tree. Something happened to me. There's an organ on the track. Something happened to me. So that's all those versions. So Jessica, we're a little out of sorts because that's how we came back from the break. But what do you think of this song? Just kidding. We're not done. Now it's time for Research with Jessica, the part of the show where Jessica comes out and gives her research.
So we have song facts, all rights reserved, this week, and it says, Relient K lead singer Matt Thiessen explained in our interview that he's a very playful guy with a strong sense of humor, and that one way or another, this creeps into many of his songs. Sadie Hawkins Dance is a stellar example of this, turning a somewhat cliche situation, finding a date to a dance in high school, on its head, peppering it with jokes and absurd situations.
Oh.
Traditionally, a Sadie Hawkins
like
dance...
Like spying on the girls in the bathroom.
It's one where the girl is encouraged to ask the boy to the dance. This is reflected in the line, girls ask the guys, it's always a surprise. And then they give a little, thing about the history of Sadie Hawkins, which we've already gone over. The song is about a nameless high school narrator's humorous experiences while trying to find a date to the upcoming Sadie Hawkins Dance. The lyrics suggest that it might be an autobiographical song, as the narrator acknowledges a sense of humor as prominent as Thiessen's own, with lines like, "Told a funny joke, got the whole class laughing. I think I got a tan from the light which I was basking." This song was released on The Anatomy of the Tongue-in-Cheek, the band's second album, in 2001. It cemented the band's reputation for having cheery music and enjoyable lyrics filled with humor, pop culture references, and Christian undertones. The record went gold with over 500,000 copies sold. The song appeared on an episode of the TV show Smallville. This song was originally supposed to have a music video. However, as Matt Thiessen stated on the band's forums, they didn't have a large enough budget to shoot the video that they wanted, and he revealed that one plan for the video involved actor Gary Coleman.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
Who I saw in real life.
You did.
I saw him asking if something was an alpaca or a lamb or a llama. It was at the Orlando County Fair, or the Orange County Fair in Orlando, Florida, and he was one of the celebrity signing booths. And then I was at the petting zoo, and he just comes walking by, and he asks the attendant, "Is that a llama or an alpaca?"
Nice. So over on Reddit, on
rest in peace, rest in power.
Indeed. On r/poppunkers, user Bronto Taurus, Relient K released new version of Sadie Hawkins Dance. If this becomes a thing, I may never listen to new music again. Robiote.
I wouldn't take it that far.
8 years ago, and this was posted 8 years ago.
Wait, was that an insult or a compliment? Because I can see that going either way.
Wait. Sorry. If this becomes a thing, I may never have to listen to new music. Yeah, I assume this is
a compliment.
I assumed that this was a slight against the song.
I may never have. Yeah, it can go either way, because you're saying I never need to listen to new music again because I'll keep listening to these re-releases of old songs. Or do you mean I'm never going to listen to new music because all this new music is just my old favorite music and it's not as good?
So Robiote replied, "I wouldn't say it's better than before. Definitely more modern. I love the song then and I still love it today, even this new version." Suddenly _Seymour said, "Love the added guitar at the end, but otherwise it really sounds like they're too old to get the feel of the song right, and or it's not as raw as the original.
That's the problem.
Or maybe they just didn't have the right mastering / mixing / recording engineer for this song. Who knows? Great song regardless." Flying Ninja Squirrel said, "I'm pretty sure they intentionally made it sound older, because what would be the point of remaking an old song if it was going to sound the same?" Suddenly Seymour agreed to that. I somewhat agree, but the song is about a freaking high school dance. They shouldn't be trying to make that sound old. It just doesn't fit. It should be full of youth and energy and a little bit of awkwardness.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
Flying Ninja
That's
Squirrel.
not how music doesn't. I don't get that. The music's not temporal in that way. You're not. Like, you sing about memories. You sing about things from your past. I don't get that.
Flying Ninja Squirrel responded, "That's the point of the original version. I think this remake has a different point to it entirely. It's about being older and feeling more nostalgic, reliving the past through memories."
Okay, hold on. I didn't think to talk about this in the 10th anniversary version. Why do I think the 10th anniversary version? Well, it's the 20th anniversary of Goatee Records. It's the 10-year anniversary version of the song, which is, I think, a cheeky joke to say, like, you have a 10-year high school reunion.
It was released right before 10. It was released, in the upcoming... it was released around the time that Thiessen publicly stated, made it a cheeky nod to the fact that they were going to do an 10 tour. So it's definitely not the 10-year anniversary of the song.
Yeah, it's a little weird. So it's the song came out in 2001. The remake comes out in 2014, from what you're saying.
Yes.
So either way, it's not 10 years. They recorded it in 2011. So they recorded it 10 years later. They recorded it for K is for Karaoke, and they held on to it, apparently.
Oh,
so it was recorded
that.
10 years later, but it wasn't released for another 2 or 3 years. The math is odd, but I get the joke to call it the Sadie Hawkins Dance 10-year reunion, because a 10-year reunion is a high school thing. And it's like, nostalgia. Like the original song, it's not a sequel like the way The Thief and There Was No Thief are the same song, but one's a sequel to the other. Like, this is just a remake of the song. Anyway, these folks right here are debating, why does the song exist? I think the song just exists because they had some extra time in the K is for Karaoke sessions, and they were just like, let's redo one of our most obnoxious songs, because we have heard, I reference it all the time, even though I've forgotten where it was. I think it's within the Local Wave podcast when Hoops was on, and he talks about how Sadie Hawkins Dance, like for any band with a big hit, could get tedious to play every night. Especially because, and Hoops says in that interview, how it can get tedious to just go dun, 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 dun every single night. Because I guess they were like, in that moment, Hoops is implying like to have written the song to go dun, 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 dun. It gets tedious to do that, and they wish they hadn't necessarily written it exactly that way. Well, I didn't comment on it, but the end of this version of the song, instead of doing the dun dun dun, it's a driving forward punker ending. Like up and down, quicker guitar instead of the dun 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 thing. Which I like that. That makes sense. Like, I'd actually like to hear a full version of Sadie Hawkins Dance without any dun 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 dun, even though that feels so iconic. This is the reason why I think they redid it. Because they were just tired of playing it the old way.
I think that it would have been a lot of fun and really adorable if this was on K is for Karaoke.
Yeah.
I think that would have been fun. Thinking of it as just a weird... Yeah, thinking of it as just like an odd standalone track, because it's like, okay, if they wanted to like modernize or kind of redo their song, like in a karaoke setting, like in that like covers album setting, that's funny.
You would get the joke.
You'd get the joke.
Relient K covers Relient K.
Yeah, so it's like even the vocals being so vastly different from the original, it's like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing.
Yeah.
And it's more funny that way. It's more cheeky. But now it's like just having it as it's like weird on its own release thing.
You lose the punchline.
You lose the punchline entirely.
Like Hidden Tracks. You lose the punchline outside of the context of the original.
Super Saiyan Noob said, one of my favorite pop punk songs ever. And Boxo Morons said, I actually really enjoy this version. I would like to hear some more of this album and released like this.
So some people might have been expecting them to re-record songs from 10 because...
No, they're just saying they would like to hear more songs re-recorded in their modern...
Well, if they released the 10-year reunion version of Sadie Hawkins Dance around the time of 10, that's so muddled and confusing. It's like, it's 10, and we're releasing a special edition called 10. It's just the same album with the vinyl track list and all the B-sides at the end.
Because I found, not only did I find the tweet from Thiessen from around that time, I then found an article written, like, shortly after that was like, that just was a release notice to say that they're going on tour with 10, and they have this new remake of their old song that was released, which is this version of Sadie Hawkins Dance.
Yeah, it seems like some of these pieces I had never realized, but it seems like, because we also missed 10 in its time, like you and me weren't paying attention to music at the time, so it seems like some of the marketing around it might have gotten a little muddied, like some of the ideas, and in this case, it seems to me like that last commenter you read was hoping or thinking they were going to re-record songs because they had re-recorded Sadie Hawkins Dance. Or people were probably expecting the remake of Sadie Hawkins Dance to show up on the 10 special edition for whatever reason, because it got a little muddied.
Then over on Spot-alike, songs similar to Sadie Hawkins Dance by Relient K. Say You Like Me by We the Kings.
Okay.
Not familiar. Everything I Ask For by The Maine.
Okay.
All My Fault, Phoenix, Texas. This Is
Phoenix
Your Life.
TX.
Sorry, Phoenix TX.
No, yeah, that makes sense to read it that way.
Apologies.
I'm just saying, I know they pronounce it Phoenix TX. Like RX Bandits or Pharmaceutical Bandits. Like, it's this, whatever. Like, bands should only come up with band names that are easy to know how to pronounce them.
This Is Your Life by Switchfoot. The Art of Losing by American Hi-Fi. In This Diary, The Ataris. Kids in Love, Mayday Parade.
Teenage Dirtbag by Wheatus.
Our Time Now, Plain White Tees. There's a Class for This. Cute Is What We Aim For. She's a Lady, Forever the
I've lost track of what are the band names
Sickest
and what are
Kids.
the song names.
It just keeps going and going and going. So, yeah. Hold My Hand by Newfound Glory. This is for real, Motion City soundtrack. Do You Feel, The Rocket Summer. Responsibility, MXPX.
Another dun sort of song.
Yeah. Let's see. The breakup song, American Hi-Fi. Mood Rings, Relient K. California, Hawk Nelson. Oh, it also sounds like Sadie Hawkins Dance by Relient K. Bring 'Em Out by Hawk Nelson. Body Bag by Hit the Lights.
What? Bring 'Em Out by Hawk Nelson? Did Hawk Nelson have a song about whipping out your boobs? It sounds like a Black Eyed Peas song. Bring 'em out. Bring out your lady lumps.
Oh, goodness gracious. Alrighty. Then, per usual, we have song meanings, and we have 80 comments, so I will not be going through all of them.
Maybe we'll make Patreon next month.
Oh,
Sadie
why?
Hawkins Dance month.
Oh. You're gonna force me to read all of them. General comment from 2002. This song is clearly about Jesus asking Matt Thiessen to the dance. Just kidding. Proto on January 12th, 2002 said, cool song, one of my favorites of Relient K, telling about the old days where girls asked the guys for the dance.
Well, okay. Good old pedantic me. I just want to be like, well, it's not the old days. It's blah, blah, blah.
Danny.
But whatever. It's a tradition. It's not even, it turns out it's not even like a tradition. It's a pop culture thing. It's based off a comic book.
Mary 12/4/25 on May 26, 2002 said, don't SA girls don't ask guys to dances. Maybe
What?
don't say girls don't ask guys to dances.
that's
Now we
different.
don't have Sadie Hawkins dances, but we have GPA dances. Girls pay all. Close enough, stop crying, boys.
What?
I don't know.
It just sounds like maybe in their town they
Yeah.
have a different thing.
Pink Bombshell on May 31st, 2002 said, wow, these guys are super shibby live. I'm not sure what that means. And I'm going to be starring in the quote unquote video for this over the summer for a film project. Smiley face. Fun stuff. All right. Well, Relient K rules because my best friend worships them. Oh, I don't know if they'd be on board with that since you
The
should.
video. I'm going to be in the video. My cousin's directing
The
it.
video.
We're shooting it in his backyard. Which is funny because this song doesn't have an actual official music video. It's one of those situations where like different information aggregators will like just pick whatever is the most popular fan music video, and sometimes like a handful of FMVs end up getting kind of pushed on articles and Google results and stuff as like the video to watch, but it's just some random teenager's video project.
Yeah. American Skater on June 11, 2002 said, yeah, they have a crazy tour this summer. They got to Creation Fest, East Coast, then King's Dominion via my hometown. I'm going to see them there. Then Cornerstone, Bushnell, Illinois. I'll see them there too. These guys are great live. My school still has a Sadie Hawkins dance, so I don't know what's wrong with your schools.
Yeah.
Also, I asked T-Sun, spelt T-sun, if this really happened, and he said he didn't even have a Sadie Hawkins dance at his school. These guys are great. Go see them live. Talk to them after the show, too.
Getting some inside info from song meanings. Oh boy. Uh-oh.
Just a Kid on August 30th, 2002 said, I love this song, smiley face. Sigh. Relient K is tight shit.
Oh, right, of course. And that's another way that this song would have built up a grassroots following for Relient K fans and people learning about Relient K is the internet. At the time, like, for some reason that kind of escaped me, the relevance of that. But yeah, just file trading and like probably not MySpace in 2002, but just like people sharing, like looking into pop punk communities online and be like, oh, check out this song, check out that song. I'm sure Sadie Hawkins Dance got pushed in a lot of groups.
There's some interesting comments on here that we definitely can't go into.
Oh no! Why not? Don't leave that a mystery.
Just slang, internet slang and whatnot.
But are they problematic? Are they bad? Is it just funny? Because you laugh.
Some of them are funny. One of them is maybe not.
Okay.
Is all I'm going to say about that. Let's see. CH2241 on October 22nd, 2004 said, I love this song as well as all the other Relient K songs. Who wouldn't? They're hilarious, and all songs have a good Christian meaning.
All songs have a good Christian meaning, especially Sadie Hawkins Dance, and especially I Am Lion-O.
Shiloh on December 26, 2004 said, oh my gosh, that's when we're recording this. Being an atheist, I was a bit confused when a friend of mine recommended this band to me. They're great. I was expecting some overly religious bullshit, but instead I found a pretty good band. Looks like even Christian rock isn't too out there for my eclectic taste in music. Good for you, Shiloh.
That's a comment after my own heart. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I'm going to have that tattooed on my back.
Sitting on Fences, January 13th, 2005 said, this is perhaps the worst song I've ever heard. The lyrics are repetitive and meaningless. It's as if they had nothing to say. So just said, oh, like complete idiots. I'm embarrassed for ever hearing this song, and especially for anyone who remotely likes it.
Why does every song on Forget Not Slow Down have to be about a girl?
It's absolutely terrible. How this many people like it, I do not know. Do me a favor, read the lyrics and tell me that a 10-year-old cannot write more meaningful words. Worst song ever. I remember when I heard it, me and my friends were talking. How did this get produced?
In the bathroom?
Do they know? They sound like complete morons.
Wow. Okay. Wow. No, I take that back. The good
Shots
for you.
fired.
I'm just like, a dissenting voice. It's a welcome thing here at Sadie Hawkins Pod, but wow, that was rough. I don't know. I don't think a 10-year-old could write, think I got a tan from the light that I was basking.
Definitely not. Maybe a child prodigy, like a Barbara Newhalt Follett. Newhalt Follett.
What?
I was just naming a child prodigy writer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, no, I agree. A 10-year-old could not write this, except that one 10-year-old from Massachusetts from like the 30s or something, or the 20s, who totally could, probably.
Oh, okay.
One of her books is actually on the shelf over there.
Oh, okay. I was like, I do not know this reference. That's why I was like shocked that you had it in the back pocket there.
She also, when she was like a little bit older, like her teens or 20s, just kind of walked off and disappeared into the woods one day, and no one knows what happened to her.
Oh, you did tell me about that story. Yeah.
But like after, when she was older, like no longer a child writing books. Then we have TikToks. For once, we have too many TikToks to do them all, though. So I'm going to let you pick and choose which ones you want to do, since you get to do the video portion of this podcast. Although maybe since you actually have the TikTok app, you should search for them on your phone.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to move them to my phone because I actually have the TikTok app, so I can actually see everything. Lots of people just saying things to the camera. I'm looking for something that at least the thumbnail is going to be sort of visually interesting. Let's see. Here's one that's a bunch of steaks. I don't know what this one is. Oh, I gotta turn up the volume. This one's uploaded by Cronloya, CRONLOYA, in 2021, and it's just 3 steaks or pork chops on a grill,
grilling before
and a
the
cool
Sadie
dog,
Hawkins Dance.
and a gif of a dog put it on cool guy glasses. There's nothing else to it. Nothing else to it. All right, there's a lot of like girls dancing and like singing and saying things to the camera. There's a lot of women in this.
Well, sure, the girls are asking the guys.
That's true. So let's just pick one. Here's a lady. So it's just her lip syncing it. This is Sarah Danley _19 in 2020. This is hashtag throwback. And she's just lip syncing and dancing and holding and like grabbing her sweater when she says, "Do you like my sweater?"
Nice.
I want some like creative stuff. Like I want some like Like, not, well, that was creative. There was dance, but I'm looking for something weird, different.
Like the stakes.
Like the stakes. This is uploaded by banana_broccoli, and this is just like their app data for the day of what they did on their diet and their exercise.
Oh, wow.
Great start to the day. I think I should know the calories by later or something. It disappeared. Now I gotta wait for it to restart.
Maybe they're getting ready for the Sadie Hawkins.
I think I should know the winnings by Saturday morning. So there must have been some sort of like weight loss, diet, or exercise challenge they were doing. Yeah, okay. How about this one? It's just a compilation of pictures. I'm not getting anything. You always pick the interesting and fun ones. This is Arrow Youth. This is just pictures from a youth group. This is just like their youth group doing a bunch of stuff. Okay, we took a little pause there so that I could find something worth playing, and I definitely found it. This is by Russ Denzer, and it's just a slow-mo compilation video, compiled, edited video about how to make an iced mocha iced coffee.
At Chick-fil-A.
At Chick-fil-A.
Amazing.
It starts by them, like, zooming up to Russ, who's, like, on his break, sitting in the booth, and they're like, ready to make an iced mocha? And he's like, sure am. And then it just cuts to a bunch of slow-mo images of the ice and the syrups and the coffee being poured into the glass.
Amazing.
And then this, like, heroic shot at the end of the coffee.
Fantastic.
I just reposted it on our TikTok. On the official Sadie Hawkins Pod TikTok, which I neglect all the time. That's amazing. All right, well, there we go. I finally found some. Oh, this looks good. Kato beef fajitas from the live. I don't know what that means. Flap meat seasoned with tequila lime. Not tequila and lime, but something called tequila lime. Onions, peppers, avocado, and queso and fresco. And it's just this delicious looking fajita.
Nice.
Just imagine that's vegan meat, Jessica.
Thanks.
Emo prom, and then it's a lady with dyed red hair and emo makeup. Like,
nice.
I'm at the emo prom. All right, well, that's TikTok. And I guess we'll do like a part 2.
Ooh, okay. We'll finish up deep dive and we'll go ahead and do whatever you've got for us.
Yep, you mean next week when we do part 2?
Yes.
Right. So, everything okay?
This notification just came up on my phone that said, create an alarm for 10:30 never. And I'm like, I don't know what that means.
What?
And when I went to go, by the time I went to go to try to take a screen cap of the notification, it went away.
What the hell? Is your phone haunted?
I don't understand what that was.
What does that mean? 10:30 never.
I don't know.
That's so weird. Because I saw Jessica get this look on her face. I saw a notification pop up. So I was afraid you got bad news. Well, in a way you did. Your phone's haunted.
I don't know what that means or why it thinks I want to create an alarm.
Like, do you have a previous alarm called Never or something?
No.
Weird. 10:30 never.
I have a 10:30 alarm already in my phone.
That's so
it's not
strange.
on,
That's
and it's
so
not
strange.
called Never. I don't understand.
Well, anyway, we could easily bring this episode. Our run times are kind of like 10 hours and they never end. That kind of ties together.
Yep.
It feels weird that we're not doing a 2.5 hour Sadie Hawkins Dance episode, but we're going to Disneyland tomorrow. And we got to get to sleep. So next week.
It's already 11.
I know, we got to get to sleep. So we'll do a bunch
Which is
of extra
even
stuff
more
next week.
strange why they want me to create an alarm for 10:30 never, since it's already past 10:30.
So don't forget to call 402-95-SADIE or send us in emails, messages, anything you want to say about Sadie Hawkins Dance. Did you have a Sadie Hawkins Dance growing up? Had you ever heard of it? Did you have to research what's a Sadie Hawkins Dance?
Share your Sadie Hawkins memories.
Yeah, did you think Relient K just made it up? We'd like to hear from people, and we'll play them all next week on Sadie Hawkins Dance part 2. It also is kind of nice that this is how we both will end the year and begin the year.
Yeah,
with
that's
Sadie
fun.
Hawkins Dance. So that will work out perfectly.
There's nothing better.
Oh. Sadie Hawkins pod with my rockin' bod. There's nothing better. Oh. Anyway, so Jessica.
Yes.
Well, how do you feel about this song?
Oh,
Do you
I
like
love
it?
this song.
You
How
love
could
it?
I love this song even more? Like,
Exactly.
I don't know.
Well, maybe we'll hold our actual full reaction. I mean, you basically said,
Sure.
we'll hold my reaction
Oh.
until next week.
All right. Until 2023.
Yeah, you'll hear about it next year. It's going to take us a whole year to come out with part 2.
Happy New Year. Stay safe and healthy out there.